Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order of the City Council on June 3rd. Council member Reardon is absent for a very good reason. He's having a grandbaby as we speak, but we do have a quorum. So if you can stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to start with the public forum. At this time, the public is permitted to address the City Council on items not appearing on the agenda. Comments may not exceed 5 minutes. In accordance with state law, however, no action or discussion may take place on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. The City Council may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may request staff to report back at a future meeting on the matter. Would anyone like to comment on an item not on the agenda? Hearing nobody, we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Okay. Karen, if I could share my screen. Still has sharing disabled. Oh, there we go. All right, council, welcome. If give this quick update here. So in terms of the council's annual goals for the year, in terms of improving our roadways, we have 2 repaving contracts coming in tonight. And, we are working on our budget for next year. We're trying to budget for an additional paving project for next year. Also, in terms of the budget, we're hot at work at it. We're very close. And the plan is to basically give you guys draft budget, hopefully this week. So you have plenty of time to review it prior to the June 24th meeting. If you guys have a lot of questions, we don't have to pass it at that meeting. It can go into July, but we'll see how we are as we review the budget. In terms of wastewater, I have kind of several things to announce. One very good one. The ARSA lawsuit has been settled. So this was initially, I guess, Sutter Creek sued Ione, and then CDCR countersued, and there was a lot of legal action going in all directions. Basically, all the parties have agreed to put down their guns and back away. So it's very good. And we're not going to be incurring legal fees any longer. And Ione has rescinded their notice not to take our recycled water, and they're actually been taking it already this season. Second piece of good news also on the agenda tonight. We have a citizen is donating 18 acres of land to the city. This is valued at $1.4 million. It's adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant. And it really hopefully unlocks some options for us because our treatment plant is pretty landlocked next to the creek. Last time we told you the auger was broken, 2 of the rotor strainers were down. Those have all been repaired and are up and working again, which is good. And then we're having our second meeting with Ione and Mule Creek on June 12th. So again, there's been a good spirit of cooperation now that the lawsuit's behind us. In terms of economic development, got 2 announcements here. We've had a volunteer group that's met a couple of times, and they decided the first thing they wanted to do was a downtown cleanup. And so we're targeting that for June 9th, which is a Sunday, 8 a.m. There's information on the website, but basically anybody that's interested, bring your work gloves, broom, trash picker up, or whatever it is you'd like to do. We'll be kind of handing out tasks, and hopefully with a bunch of hands, it won't take very long.
Is that 8 o'clock you said, Tom?
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is I attended 2 meetings on, it's called Job First California. And I have a bit of an update on that I'll get to in a second. And then just kind of just random day-to-day other things. We had the Italian picnic this weekend with a parade. I think it was highly successful. It seemed like the parade was larger this year than last year. The Shriners were back with the go-karts. So I think people had fun. And then I also attended a Sibling Cities update, which I'll share with you here too. So first is California jobs. This is across the whole state of California. We are part of the Sierra region. It's a very large region. It's 7 counties. You can see the list up here on the screen. And basically these groups across the state are working on their strategic plans. And there's a bunch of money budgeted from the state that will be available for economic development. And this is basically in the first phase. So it's been going on for, I don't know, maybe almost a year. But I plan to get involved as they continue to shape the strategic plan and see if we can't get some funds directed to Sutter Creek. And
What will those funds be available?
So they're available for anything you think your region needs to encourage business. And it's very broad, includes education, housing, kind of supportive services, things like childcare, as well as things to encourage entrepreneurism and support businesses directly. And so we're in this first phase here, the planning phase. That money is basically available for the strategic plan. But then later this year, they go into this, what they call the Catalyst program. And so if you do have some programs, it's possible to get money kind of as early as the end of this year. And those are smaller programs that would feed into the larger programs, which is where the big money is. But I mean, that 5 million is for the whole 7 counties to write the strategic plan. Yeah, so there's nothing really there. Possibly in this 14 million, but then really you're looking at the 273 million. Yeah, but this would be the money for this 7 county region. Yes, from the state, California. Right. No, and it's a collaborative effort. So they will fund projects that tend to work across multiple counties. So. And then I just wanted to mention this. I attended on Saturday. It was the 2-year anniversary of this organization called Sibling Cities USA. It may be something we're interested in, maybe not, but I thought I'd share it with you guys. So President Eisenhower started international sister cities after World War II. And that was really to have cities form relationships globally. The idea was to get to know another city, share your culture, and hopefully build bridges. Sibling City is different. It's focused on U.S. connections, so it's between U.S. cities. And they're actively looking to add more kind of city pairs. And they have a few things they would like, if you're in California, that you would pair with a city that's not in California and kind of roughly the same size as your city. And then the idea is you start off typically doing fun things around community, and then around commerce and business. And then the last pillar they have is civil discourse, with the idea that these 2 cities would talk about difficult issues and kind of share their perspectives. So that's it. I just wanted to share that with you. In terms of upcoming community events, I mentioned the volunteer cleanup. We're meeting at 54 Main Street at 8 a.m. And then on July 4th, we're having a city-sponsored pool party at the city pool. The idea is to have some fun and raise some money for pool maintenance, hopefully. And then we have the county fair coming up in July. And then we have one more meeting, and we should note, again, we moved the June 17th meeting. It's going to be on June 24th. And then we canceled the first meeting in July because of the 4th of July. So just to make sure everybody remembers that, meeting on June 24th. We're going to go over the draft budget. We're going to talk about the transaction use tax. And then I expect we'll get to these other things, the equality report, the designating voting delegates for Cal Cities. We typically do it now, but that one's not really time critical. And then we have probably a closed session on the lease union contract. And that's it.
Thanks, Tom. Council, did you have any questions for Tom? No? Okay, that brings us to presentations. We have a presentation from Steve Cannon.
Hi, Steve Cannon. Oh, up here. I have a microphone.
There. I generally don't need microphones, but if you're recording. Anyway, my name's Steve Cannon. I am a longtime resident of Amador County. I've lived here since '79. And I'm a consulting forester, registered professional forester. I was contacted by a couple that recently bought a large piece of property out in Amador City. And they were asking me, so what should we be doing here? They told me what their goals and objectives were. And what I suggested to them was that maybe what we could do would be to work on putting together a fuel break project on their property. They are located fairly strategically from Sutter Creek and Amador City to the northeast. The proposal is up there. I'm sure you guys have copies of it. So at any rate, it's 900 acres. And a lot of it is heavily covered with live oak, woodland. There's a fair amount of oak savanna, grasslands and stuff. I looked at it and I went, this needs to be treated. And they are fully committed to doing that. My proposal to them was, and they are interested in this, that we put together a project and go to the Amador Fire Safe Council and look for grant funding from either the state, the BLM, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, California Fire Safe Council. A number of these projects have been funded already. Fire Safe Council has been doing a lot of work on fuel breaks. And I have some connections through the Fire Safe Council. I've worked with them on some other projects. So the idea being that we go on ridge tops and we clear areas, not completely clear them, but create shaded fuel breaks where we thin out the forest, clear out the understory, and create this shaded fuel break that's approximately 300, 400 feet wide. This particular project would, on their property, would include about 125 acres. Now, I've just recently started working on developing the information to talk to neighbors. And I'm looking at the possibility of 14 to 18 neighbors in that area that would, we would expand the fuel break on strategic ridges that tie into the Renditch property. The Renditches also intend, what their plans are to conduct what's called strategic grazing or targeted grazing. They want to thin out the rest of their property also as much as they possibly can. And they'll be applying to the Natural Resources Conservation Service for financial assistance to do that. These folks are very committed. I've been impressed with them. They really are interested in getting this going. They have cows out there grazing right now. I think it's a good project. I did this presentation to the Amador City Council, and Chief Moreno and I talked during and after the presentation. And he and I are sort of on the same page on some issues. We disagree on others. But one of the things that I look at is that that area, all of that area was covered by the Rancheria fire in 1961. I wasn't here. I was 9 years old living in Berkeley. I can just imagine that in those days, CAL FIRE did not have the air resources that they have today for air attack. I cannot believe that CAL FIRE and City of Sutter Creek and Plymouth, all the other cities, Jackson, had the resources or the experience that we have now. Whether that fire would have the same impact today as it had then, I don't know. It was a wind-driven fire coming from the northeast, where we have this tendency during the summer, we have winds coming from Nevada, hot, dry winds coming over to the top of the Sierra and dropping down. And as they drop down, they accelerate. And that's what causes these big, heavy-duty firestorms. This fuel break will not stop that. It may stop and help us attack a smaller fire. The other point that I'd like to make, though, is this. Well, there's a couple of points. One is these things have to be maintained. Okay, I mean, I've been associated with the Amador Resource Conservation District now since 1998. And we've participated and helped putting in 3 different fuel breaks, only one of which has received any maintenance by the landowners. Very disappointing. You know, somebody gets a couple $1,000 an acre for free money, and they don't maintain their ground. You know, I mean, what can I do? There have been some options talked about. I don't want to get into the details of those, but the other thing that I want to bring up is that if we don't do anything, then the situation isn't going to change. Nobody's going to go out there and put $3,000 per acre into their property without some kind of financial assistance. If we don't avail ourselves of that funding for Amador County, somebody else will. So that's what I want. I want to get a hold of it. And I want to take this project to the Fire Safe Council and make the proposal. And the reason I'm here tonight is because I would like to get a letter of support from the City Council of Sutter Creek saying that this looks like a good project that will benefit the people of this town and the surrounding areas, outlying areas. So that's about where I'm at on it. Any questions? Julia?
What are you looking at in terms, when you're talking 125 acres of clearance? And the description in here was, you know, the masticating devices and all that.
Right.
What do you approximate a total cost of this project for a fuel break of 125 acres?
All right, we're working right now. The Resource Conservation District is working on a project that goes from Highway 88 south to Clinton Road, right near where it starts on the north side where the Rancheria store is and then goes south.
Okay.
That's a 1,000-acre project. And that 1,000 acres was budgeted at $3 million. We're not treating all 1,000 acres. We're evaluating the 1,000, okay?
The project is listed as involving
Jackson Creek-
125 acres?
This project is
rented.
125.
Yeah,
The rented,
that's what I'm.
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so I'm just trying to give you some examples here. All
So
right, I'm working on another project for another client that's 37 acres, okay? And that's a $97,000 project, okay? The prices for this kind of treatment, the costs range from on the low end around $2,000 an acre to up to $3,000 an acre for masticating machinery, okay?
Just for the
if-
machining.
Yeah, just for cleaning it up and getting it going. Now, that does not include maintenance, okay, which must be done. If it's not done, then we're wasting our money.
So the grant money that you're going through the Fire Safe Council, will that fully fund this?
Yeah, that's the intent.
And
They've
then-
already done 5 other projects, I think. Upper Rancheria, the Mitchell Mine fuel break, the Pine Acres fuel break has gone through maintenance. Mitchell Mine has gone through maintenance. We got a maintenance grant for that, that the Resource Conservation District's got
So
a
if
hold
you're
of.
talking $2,000 to $3,000 acre, just rough math, you're talking $600,000 to $750,000
Yes,
for this project.
yes,
And that's going to be all fully funded through the fire safe.
yes. Through one of the granting agencies, like CAL FIRE, they have project money for healthy forests and fuel hazard reduction.
So it
Sierra
still
Nevada,
has to go through the application process, yada, yada, yada.
absolutely,
Mm.
yeah.
So we set
Okay.
this up because it was kind of two things. So there's the presentation, and then later in
Yeah.
the agenda, we had the discussion about the support letter.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
So that's all.
All right, anything else?
Will you be here, probably in
I'll
quite a
hang-
while when
I'll
we
hang out.
get to
I'll
that part
hang
of the
out. Don't
agenda?
worry, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else on the council have a question at this point or hold it for the agendized item?
I don't have any questions, but I'll state for the record now that if I did have questions, I couldn't participate. I'm one of the
Because-
adjacent property owners to this proposed project. And so during the discussion or of whether a support letter would be written, I will have to step down on that matter.
Jim, thanks for bringing that up. I did
Okay.
not want to.
You're welcome. And if there's any public comment?
Is there any public comment? We do have this as item 9E later in the agenda.
Thanks, Steve.
Dominic Marino, Sutter Creek Fire Chief. I have to actually leave here after this presentation, have to head back to the station, so I'm just gonna give you guys some handouts real quick. So as you know, we're very proactive in Sutter Creek. We're constantly burning, cleaning. We've started our postings. Basically, we try to clean every property in Sutter Creek. So a couple of the issues are with this is fuel breaks. There's a sheet I just gave you there, and it has some written information on it. And basically, one of the statements is many fire management personnel understand that fuel breaks are unlikely to stop passively most fires, particularly during extreme weather conditions. But the public, news media, and policymakers may unrealistically expect otherwise. So in the last 10 years, we've had 34 catastrophic fires. Every single one of them was wind driven. So what that means is when you have embers, they're going to fly faster, farther. Paradise had embers flying over a mile. Paradise had a bunch of fuel breaks in and it ran over them like a locomotive. The Thomas fire, same thing. The Napa fire, the same thing. So what happens is you put these fuel breaks in, you're expecting a small fire on a beautiful day when everybody can go out there and just put it out. If there's any wind at all, these things don't do anything. Studies after studies have shown the best thing we can do is go into the population centers and harden the homes. Clean around the homes, put gutter protection in them, basically get them hardened so when the embers wash comes in, they are protected from the ember wash. So my issue with this is that we have more and more large landowners are coming in to get these grants to clean their property. They have the financial means, they have the political connections. The problem is the people that we serve in the city, which an average income of $59,000, they don't have the political connections and they don't have the money to hire consultants. Those are the ones we need to go protect. So I did some real quick math on the numbers. Silverado just did a fire break over there, Napa, 77 acres. Original bid was $700,000, which worked out to $9,500 an acre. They got it down to $500,000 with donation, which was $6,500 an acre. If you apply that to this project, you're looking at the top end, 1.2 million, at the bottom end, $800,000. The other thing, if you look at that map I just handed out to you, On the east side of that line is like gasoline. So you can put a line in the middle of that, but on the east side of that line, if that's not cleaned up all the way up, that fire break's not gonna do any good. There's gonna be so many embers washing across that line. So I'm not against fire breaks. We do fire breaks in the city, but we also, as part of fire breaks, we go clean around houses and everything else. That's all part of component. When a fire goes through a 900 acre piece of property, and then the next year or 2 or 5 or 10 years later, everything comes back. But when the fire goes through a middle of a city like Paradise, it doesn't come back. And the losses are in the billions, and the deaths are in the who knows what numbers. So I understand he's asking support for this, but we're basically joining the gang and saying, yeah, this is great, but it's really not going to help us. We need to, if anything, we need to write a letter to the Fire Safe Council and ask for donation for money to help harden homes in Sutter Creek. And I think that's the avenue we need to go down. There was comments made about, well, if we don't get the money, somebody else is going to get the money. But that doesn't mean we should throw money at things that aren't going to work. So looking at those things, that's an issue I have with it. I also have a couple other things. There was this big fire break. It was called, I think, Ponderosa. Remember Ponderosa? 800-mile fire break. It was put back during the Depression era. It was a fire break basically between the foothills and the forest. And then over the years, especially the last 30 years, it's been abandoned. And now we've had fires crossing that fire break. The Butte fire, all these different fires are going through those areas where we used to have fire breaks. So if they're not maintained, if they're not taken care of, if we don't have wind events, these things just don't work. So, and I think Steve actually said it. The three of those projects they did, 2 of them aren't maintained. That's 2/3 of them. So money was thrown at a project and then wasn't maintained. So it was basically wasted the money. For a project to work right, it has to be maintained at least every 3 to 5 years. So it has to go out there. So if they want to give grants to people to do this, then they should be given easements across their property where these fire breaks are, giving them either to the state of California or the county of Amador to maintain them in the future. So if the property owner doesn't maintain them, then they're maintained by an entity that maybe bills them for the cleaning. So I got 2 more handouts I want to hand out real quick. One is a article done by LA Times, and it basically, they went in and investigated all these fire breaks, and they basically came up to the conclusion that the fire breaks aren't working. The second one is a story about the Ponderosa Way, how it was put in, how it was paid for initially, and how over time was abandoned. So I'm all for fire protection. And if we're going to have a fire break, I'd rather see it at Amador Road, Turner Road, Amador Road, Shake Ridge Road, rather than farther up the hill. Because the farther away a fuel break gets from the city, the less effective it is for the city. So if our fire breaks, I'd love to have them right here. A road, 200, 300 foot along the road, something where we can go fire off of a fire. Your father, during the Rancheria fire, backfired off the top of the hill and helped protect the city of Sutter Creek back during the Rancheria fire. So those are things that we can do, but if the fire is too far out, it's just going to run over these things. Also, during the Rancheria fire, I asked Bruce Sherrill, I think Butch can tell you the same thing. All the fire engines went out to Amador Road and dozers, everybody waited for that fire to come, and it blew right over them. And then they're all running back to town, chasing the thing as it heads toward town. One other thing is different today than it was 60 years ago. When a fire came to town, everybody stayed behind. Usually if they had young kids, the wife would take the young kids and head up the hill. All the older males, kids, and the fathers would stay behind to fight the fire. So your firefighting force went from maybe 10 or 30 people to 100 or 200 people fighting the fire. The problem today is everybody leaves. So when you leave town, we have 10 or 20 people that are fighting, trying to save 1,200 homes. We just can't do it. That's where we need the hardening. That's what we need those things so a house can protect itself. Again, if it gets over the fire break, it's going to run through the town. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thanks, Dominic.
Who's leaving?
Did the council have questions for Dominic before he leaves?
I have a couple questions. Thank you for being here. So I guess the first question, is there any reason if they get this grant, why there wouldn't also be a possibility for us to apply for the grant for that home hardening?
Sure. There's so much money out there. If we can go apply for home hardening, that's where we need to start directing these, like the Fire Safe Council, direct these in to start and spend their money there. Because like it says, what's happening, you had bunch of large property owners are going out, they have the political connections and they have the ability to hire people to get these grants for their property. You have people in Pine Grove, Pioneer that are literally on Social Security. Their house might be paid off, but their insurance company says you have to do all this work around your house. And they don't have the money to do it. So they either, one of two things, they sell their house or they go without insurance, which is actually worse. So yes, we can do that. I think we have to refocus this stuff to start spending more money hardening homes rather than fuel breaks. Fuel breaks is part of the equation, but it's a smaller part of the equation versus hardening the homes.
But them getting the grant money, I mean, we're not applying for it for like as a community
No.
for the homes, so it wouldn't affect.
So he's basically,
grant.
he's hired by the property owners to go get a grant for him is what he's hired by.
Okay, but it wouldn't, so we could still apply though for a grant. That
Yes,
might be a good.
we can go and apply for grants, which we need to do. We'll go start applying for grants to start doing this. We try to do as much as we can with our budget going forth. We do, as you can see, we do a lot of fuel breaks. We bring donated equipment in. We put brakes on things. We actually burn parcels. We help people out. There's some people in town they can't afford it. Somebody weed eat, we'll go out, weed eat their property for them. So
Okay.
there's all kinds of things we can do. Yes, if we can get a grant to go harden homes, that would be awesome. There was an article in the paper a couple weeks ago, a gentleman at Rollingwood. The insurance company told him he had to go do some hardening in the house. It cost him $5,000.
Okay.
But when he was done, they told him he had to move his fence 5 feet off the side of the house. He went to have a metal fence built, and his HOA wouldn't approve his metal fence. So the gentleman decided he's just going to go without insurance. So that was his decision to make.
But, so I guess, though, the question is, the landowner, them getting the grant wouldn't affect us applying and getting one as well.
Well, there's only X amount of money.
But we're not, okay, but
Yeah.
we're not
I mean,
currently asking for it.
basically, if somebody takes all the money in first, it's pretty much a first come, first serve. So the people that have the connections and the political wherewithal can jump in front and get the stuff before the other people try to catch up.
Okay,
So, I mean, I'd love to see the Fire Safe Council take the lead on this thing and start addressing it in the county for all the individuals that could need help with the hardening of their homes.
and then the second question, you expressed concern that the landowner might come back and try and bill us for maintenance, but wouldn't.
No, actually,
Okay,
that the landowner, there's no recourse to go back to the landowner. What I proposed is that they put a deed of easement across the land, and that if it's not maintained, the state or the county would then maintain it and bill the landowner.
okay, so you're not concerned they would try and bill us?
They wouldn't be able to.
Okay,
If there was an
great.
easement with the rules on there, you pretty much laid it out. We did that when Gold Rush came in, we put an agreement in all the open space that would be maintained by the fire district, but paid for by the citizens in Gold Rush.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thanks, Dominic. We'll revisit this in a while. That takes us to item 6, the approval of the minutes from the May 20th meeting.
I'd like to ask for a correction. On From the minutes on item 9, administrative agenda, halfway down says Councilmember Sticknor that she has received positive feedback from the business owners. I'd like to specify that it was either select or some. That is too general, and that wouldn't be accurate statement that I had made. So I would say some business owners.
Got that, Karen?
I have that.
Thank you, Karen.
Anybody else? Then I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think I have to abstain because I was.
Okay, and one abstention from Councilmember Feist. That moves us on to the consent agenda. We have a resolution calling for the election. I can entertain a motion to approve this unless there's discussion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, none. Okay, the moment we've all waited for, the public hearing for the sewer rates. Tom, do you want to introduce it and then I'll open the public hearing?
Sure. So this is our fifth meeting on sewer rate changes. So we had two meetings on the long-range financial forecast and really highlighted the shortfalls in our reserves and our capital funds. And then we had two council meetings on the sewer rate increase. And then we have the meeting tonight for the public hearing. And again, as we talked about in the previous meeting, we went about 10 years with no increase at all. And so what we're looking at tonight would be a $35 increase for next year. And that breaks down to about $21 for the treatment plant, $8 for the sewer mains and laterals, and $7 for disposal through ARSA, if you were to factor out the projects. And so this is the public hearing process, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, I'm gonna open the, oh,
It's a process. Maybe I can add something. So we are following Proposition 218, which provides for a protest process. So just to kind of give the council a flavor and anyone who's here, the process works where basically any property owner can submit, or a ratepayer can submit a protest. They have to do that in writing. If we receive protests from 50 plus 1% of the ratepayers, then there is a majority protest, and under Proposition 218, we cannot proceed with the increases. So the staff report has made clear that there are, let me just double check, there are 1,475 parcels, which means that we need 738 protests. I'll turn it over in a moment to the city clerk. She can advise how many protests we've received. We can receive protests up until the close of the public hearing. So if anyone tonight is in the audience and has not submitted a written protest, they may do so, but they have to do so before the public hearing. What we have done in the past is when we have a long history with this protest process. We actually had pretty lengthy processes with our solid waste franchise rate increases many years ago, and we've learned a lot about how to conduct the protest procedure. What our practical experience has taught us is that if we don't get to that number, that 745 number, we don't need to go through and look at every single protest. We can deem the protests we've received as just accepted. And then because there's not a majority protest. So I'll turn it over to the city clerk to advise on how many protests, the raw count I will note that the raw count doesn't mean we've gone through and verified everything to make sure that it was properly submitted. What we've experienced is that sometimes there's, double counting of protests, or there's protests by people who are not property owners or parcel owners or payor, rate payers. And so we end up having to disqualify some of the protests, but if we do not reach the threshold, it's not necessary to do that. So I'll ask our city clerk if she can advise what the raw count of protests is.
We have received 205 protests.
Okay. So what that means is unless you get 520 some odd protests between now and the time you close your public hearing, there will not be a majority protest, which means you may proceed to consider the rate increase. You are not obligated to improve the rate increase, but you have the legal authority to do so. So what I would suggest is that we open up the public hearing, and then if anyone is in the public and has not submitted a written protest and would like to do so, pull out a sheet of paper, write the name of your address, your name, sign it, and indicate that you wish to protest, and we can accept that. Otherwise, we can also accept comments from the public like we normally do. So I think we should open the public hearing.
Can I ask you a
Sure.
question first, Derek?
Yes.
In regards to the rate schedule that is proposed,
Yes.
would each individual future rate increase, say, July 1st, 2025, to enact that, does that require council action?
No, we are approving the rate schedule so that the rates will change each year. Proposition 218, there's legislation that was enacted after Proposition 218 was passed, and that legislation allows up to a 5-year schedule of rate increases as long as we
Yeah,
make very clear to the public.
Okay, I know it allows it. If then, can the council postpone or a rate increase that's approved and still be able to enact it at a future time? In other words, on July 1st, 2025, the council says, let's postpone that rate increase. Do they have that option? Does the council have that option?
If the future council, if you adopt the resolution tonight, let's say you adopt it as written and it has the 5 years, could a future council suspend a rate increase? I believe that if it wishes to do that, it could, yes.
Because in 2018, or excuse me, 2008, there was a approval of a 3-step rate increase, and only one of those increases was ever enacted.
Well,
So-
you do 2 things. One is tonight you have the authority, if there's not a majority protest, and I'm assuming that we're not going to get 525 protests between now and when the public hearing closes. So on that assumption that there is not a majority protest, you have the authority to approve the 5-year schedule of rate increases. You could say, well, we're not going to do 5 years, we're going to do 3 years. We're going to do 4 years, we're going to do 2 years. Or you could simply approve the rate increases going forward. You can approve all of them. If a future council wanted to schedule an item and suspend a rate, so let's say in 2026, the council says we don't want to raise our increase, we don't want to approve the increases in 27 and 28, then if they adopted a resolution that would suspend the rate increase, I believe that would be legal.
I had the same question as Jim, and, in looking recently, Calaveras County, went through the 218 process, and, their rates, they're paid bi-monthly, but the schedule looks almost exactly like ours. But there is the stipulation that this is the most you can pay, under this 218 hearing. So without going through another 218 hearing, we, as a council or a future council, can enact each of these increases every July 1st or whichever the date is or not. So if we approve the rate increase schedule, then we could revisit it next summer as, as we all know, we're still formulating our plan here and we know it's going to cost something, but if our silver bullet shows up or, another solution, we can modify it at that time.
Yes, so if you took the action as written tonight, then the rate increases would be authorized and would go forward. If you took no further action over the next 5 years, the rate increases would go forward. They would be each year they would be raised. But if you wanted to next year say, okay, we've got some additional funding we found, we want to look at that, our rate increase schedule, and maybe we should reduce that, you would have that authority. You have the authority to go below. In other words, because we would not have a majority protest tonight, the rate schedule would be the ceiling of what you could approve. But I do want to emphasize the way the resolution is written tonight is if you approve that and you never take any further action, those rate increases are going to go forward. So you would have to take some affirmative action as a council, or your future councils, whoever is seated in these seats would have to take the action by resolution.
Thank you, Derek. It's good to know.
Before I open the public hearing, I just want to remind everybody not to use Chief Marino as an example. On agendized items, the public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Comments should be directed to the whole council, and dialogue or discourse doesn't occur at this time, but the council will hear everyone's comments before they deliberate. If you ask questions in your comments, the council will hear those and may ask them of staff during our deliberation time. That said, I see Mr. Sweeney. So do I need to open the public hearing with a motion?
No, we'll close it.
Okay. Okay, it's open.
First of all, I apologize for jumping up here. I have another engagement that I need to get to, and I thought I'd better get my 2 cents worth in while I could. I gave the council written input, which I think kind of gives you an overview of my thoughts on the topic. I'm especially concerned about seniors, low-income folks that are going to be heavily impacted by this action. I think any significant rate increase, certainly 45%, should only be done if you give each home a custom rate based on their water usage. Typically, communities use a winter quarter of water usage to give each home an individual rate based on their water usage, so that the senior living by themselves has a smaller rate than the household with 4 or 5 toilets, 5 or 6 children. That's pretty standard procedure. I believe you already do that with your commercial customers. And I would really encourage you guys to include that in any kind of significant rate increase that you're considering. I know that communication with George Lee and Ione is ongoing. I've known George for 34 years. I think he can be a catalyst along with Tom to develop a win-win solution going forward that would negate the need for a new tertiary plant. I know our infrastructure needs to be improved. I've met with the mayor. I've met with Tom. I've also met with Councilperson Reardon. I am convinced that our infrastructure needs a lot of attention, and I can see the need for rate increases. But I think if we divorce Ione and we divorce Mule Creek, we're on our own. And then it's 1,400 ratepayers trying to foot the bill for a tertiary plant, perhaps, if that's the direction you go, that we don't know how much it's going to cost. We're only guessing at this point in time. So I think, regional planning is where our focus should be. And I think with George in place in Ione, I think it's a golden opportunity to work with George. I called him up. We spoke at length. He welcomes a meeting with Tom, with the mayor, with all of you. He offered to go to lunch. We just didn't have enough time between when we talked and this meeting tonight. But I think he's an excellent resource going forward, because I think it can represent a new era. We put the lawsuit behind us. Kudos to you guys for getting that done. But I think working with the city of Ione, I know historically it has been difficult, but I think going forward it could be a totally new ballgame. And I think George is very much into win-win solution. One of my major concerns is that your database is flawed. I never thought we'd get to the 51%. It's very difficult when people pay their bills online. They don't open their mail. So that's, that's kind of on the customer. But I audited 10 households. And of the 10 households that I checked with, people I know and trust, 3 of them did not get the letter in the mail. So that's, in my little sampling, that's 30%. And I know at least one of them is here tonight. I don't want to give names out of the other folks because I don't have authorization to do that. But if my point sampling is accurate and you're in the range of 20 to 40% off, then this public hearing cannot go forward and you cannot vote tonight. So I think that's something that you need to take a close look at. And that kind of brings me back to, I think Jim and Mayor Gunselman was kind of hinting at it. Maybe we need some more discussion. Maybe we need more community input. You got over 200 letters against this proposal. I think if it was put to a vote, I don't think the proposal would pass. So I think your community is in the process of giving you input. They didn't meet the deadline. They didn't meet the 51%. Part of that could be that not everybody got the letter in the mail. I know 30% of the people I contacted didn't get it. And the other thing I want to communicate very clearly is I know that was not on purpose. I've met with Mayor Gunselman. She was nice enough to come to my house on Mother's Day weekend. Dan Reardon and I met when he wasn't feeling very well. Tom met with me on very short notice. So I know that, the intent to be transparent and accurate is completely there. I'm not suggesting anything otherwise. But out of 10 households I checked with, 30% didn't get the letter. So I think the database needs to be looked at closely. I think I should turn it over to my fellow citizens and get to my band practice. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mike. I think we'll just kind of let the line of folks manage itself if that's okay. And if we need to get involved otherwise, we will.
I don't know which one is working. Is this working? Okay. I have written 2 letters to the Ledger to remind the people in Sutter Creek about this 45% raise of our sewer bill. That would mean I would be paying like $111 a month. I passed out 50 flyers to all the people that I could to let people know. I mean, look, a handful of people came. I don't know whether you've received very many, but this is what I wrote. I wrote it on the 24th to Karen Darrow, City Clerk, regarding the sewer service charge. Your proposal to raise our sewer service charge 45% on July 1st, 2024, and continue to raise more in the following years. I, Georgia L. Fox, a 45-year owner of property, my home on 54 Badger Road, Sutter Creek, I disapprove and protest your anticipated proposal to raise the sewer charge 45%. Can you believe 45%? Not even PG&E raised it that much at the beginning. I'm a senior, I'm a widow, I'm on a fixed income. As one person using the sewer system on a daily basis, paying my share of sewer bills for many, many years, I am protesting and proposal to raise your proposal to raise the sewer service charge a whopping 45% and more in the proposed future. Okay? That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Georgia. Next speaker.
Well, according to the city manager or the city attorney, I think the whole process is flawed because he stated that the letters were sent to property owners and to ratepayers. I rented for 30 years in this town and I paid the sewer tax. The, that was my arrangement with my landlord. So how many ratepayers or how many renters in this town? Now, I'm a property owner now, but how many renters did not get the letter? And what he said that that's supposed to reflect the ratepayer and the property owner, then you need to start all over again. Thank you.
I'm here to represent my husband and I. We wrote this.
Pull the microphone down.
I'm here to represent my husband and I. We wrote this letter and I'd like to present it to the council. We are writing to you as concerned property owners regarding the proposal to increase the sewer rates by 45% and continuing additional increases the next 4 years. While we understand the need for maintaining and improving our city's infrastructure, such a steep increase is both burdensome and unreasonable for many residents, especially during these challenging economic times. The proposed rate hike does not seem to consider the financial strain it would place on the average household. An increase of this magnitude could lead to a significant rise in the cost of living, disproportionately affecting low-income families, many tenants who are already struggling, and fixed-income seniors who are also finding it difficult to make ends meet. The dilemma of this aging sewer system has been a legitimate concern for decades. It was a matter of discussion when the Gold Rush development was proposed in Sutter Creek years ago. To delay addressing these problems shows a lack of long-term planning. These increases, if necessary, should have been introduced years ago with a smaller increase over longer extended time periods. Therefore, we encourage the city, even at this time, to lower the rate of increase and extend the increases over a longer period of time. We also encourage the city to consider a tiered rate system that ensures those who use more pay more rather than a flat rate increase for all. We have properties that have one toilet and one sink with no showers or tubs, and our rate is equal to a home with multiple services. There is nothing more important than to maintain the respect and support between the residents and the city officials. We have a responsibility and the privilege of maintaining respectable and trustworthy relationships. Working together and acknowledging the needs of both the city and the residents is vital. Reconsidering the amount of this rate increase would ensure a healthy relationship for all those involved. I'm going to submit this letter, and it serves as 5 separate objections. Thank you very much.
We didn't get the name of the last 2 speakers, but there's written protests. We have that for the record, right? And anyone else coming up, can you please state your name?
It's Rodney and Susan Hobbs, Hobbs. Thanks.
My name's Charles Logan. I presented here before, and part of the argument that the city made in substantiating this proposal was the difficulty that we were having with I-own, and it seems to be that that's taken off the table now. It sounds from what I hear. I think the other thing that the council needs to consider at this point is that if this is passed, I get a feeling that you're going to shoot yourself in the foot for the sales tax increase. I think there's going to be a lot of unhappy people that will vote that down. And I think a better look at this increase would be a better rate increase, but would maybe help to get that sales tax passed. And the other thing that we struggle with here too is the infiltration and the regular flow that comes from the individual housing. Maybe the city should entertain an idea of purchasing a large lot of water-saved toilets and sell them to the constituents at a very modest price, so we could reduce that flow by that way. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Swift. I just want to speak on behalf of my many neighbors at the mobile home park, Sutter Terrace. I listen to what they say, and I know that for most of them, this would be quite a hardship, and that's all that I want to say.
Andra Spellacy, Sutter Creek resident. First of all, let me congratulate the city on settling the ARSA lawsuit. That litigation was a serious strain on city resources for far too long, and it's great to be able to put that behind us. And I think it just shows the forward movement that the city's making and a lot of things that have been left hanging for too long. And the other thing I want to say is I really respect all the people that are here tonight. I'm happy to see so many people in the room, and I totally understand that this is a very bitter pill to swallow. And I'm resident, I'm also retired, I'm on a fixed income, and this isn't easy for anyone, but I do support the proposal before the council tonight. I have firsthand knowledge of the situation that the city's been in for a very long time in terms of its wastewater system. And the problem that we face today is that the city has let this go on for way too long without taking the necessary steps to make sure that our citizens are protected and that we are providing the health benefits that a functional sewer system allows a city to have. We didn't take the steps that we needed to. In many instances, we approved rate increases and we put them off. The one that was approved in 2009 and then was only implemented 1 year has cost the city millions of dollars that we could have in our coffers to be addressing our problems now. I really urge the council to go forward with the full proposal the way it is. You need to have as much leeway and as many options as possible as you go forward to make the really tough decisions to fix the wastewater system. We cannot go to a grant agency, to a lending agency, and not show that the city has taken the steps to have a rate structure that would support paying back loans that we may have to borrow, or show that we are deserving of the grant funding that we're going to need to fix this. I would also, caution against the notion that our problems are all solved now in terms of our disposal system. The fact is, we don't own the system that transfers the waste, the cleaned waste from our sewer plant down to Ione. It's owned by a state entity. We have an agreement with them that is going to expire in a number of years. That system is in horrible shape. It has been for a really long time. It's very difficult to, find ways to fix a system that was really never designed to do what it does today, and to ask the residents of Sutter Creek to pay for repairs on a system that we do not own, and will someday lose access to. So I just want to emphasize that these issues that this council and this group of staff members have been facing are really, really difficult. And in all my years of working in government, and especially local government, there's some of the most intractable issues that I've ever seen. And I really appreciate and applaud the political courage that this staff and this council has shown in making the tough decisions that they're just not going to be popular. There's no way around them. But we don't have a lot of choice. We actually have no choice. And about a year ago, the council had a very brief discussion about setting up some kind of funding to help support people who are going to really have a tough time with any future rate increases. And I would again encourage the council to think about putting together a grant program that could be used for people to come to and apply for the folks who are really struggling to deal with these. But again, I just want to commend you for the foresight and the courage that it takes to do what you need to do tonight. Give yourself all the options that you can, because you don't know what the future is going to look like. One of the problems that the city faces is that, it passed a rate increase and then it didn't go forward with it 13 years ago or however long ago that was, and now we're paying the price. So don't box yourself into anything. Give yourself the opportunity to make the best decisions for the city with as much latitude as possible. And again, I support this increase and I appreciate the work that you're doing for the city tonight. Thank you.
Glenn Bowman, Sutter Creek. I do have big issues with this, considering partly the state of California average sewer cost is a roughly $59 a month, which means you're already getting close to $20 more than state average. And this year, by the time this get done, you would be tripling the state average. I think it's very unfair to anybody that's retired, fixed income. I think you are trying to put the shaft to it. That's either from bad management or greed, or possibly both. Thank you.
Butch Martin. I lived here a few years. You do have a problem in Sutter Creek, but this problem just didn't happen overnight. It's been happening for the last 20 years. And you're not going to fix it with this increase. You're going to help it, but the problem's still there. This community I seen come from, Jim probably don't remember, but 3 or 4 grocery stores, hardwood stores, everything in Sutter Creek. 2 5 and dimes. You didn't have to go out of town to buy anything. You could go to top of the hill and buy all your groceries, your appliances and everything. It's not here now. That's not your fault, but it's, I guess you just call it time. The increase is going to be rough on old people. It's not going to be rough on me because I just charge my renters more money. But that's the whole thing. More money, more money, more money. And the sewer plant still doesn't get fixed. Subdivision wants to come in and build. Everybody fights it. Infrastructure stays low. You used to be able to go to high school here, get out of high school, go to work at the mill, put 2 kids through college. That's gone. The environmentalists did away with it. Where are we headed? We're headed down a blank road. It's not going to get fixed. What's it going to take to put the sewer plant in that needs to be fixed? 30 million bucks? 40, 50? Where's that money going to come from? Raising rates for people that lived here all their life or just moved here? It's not going to happen. If we don't get the government to help us, we can help every country in the world. We can't build the infrastructure of this country. And that's sickening. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. But I'll guarantee you, if I won the lotto tomorrow and wrote you a check today for $100 million to fix the sewer plant, by the time you got it built, it'd already be extinct. So how do we fix those problems? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing, you're not going to fix it by doing a 45% rate, because in 5 years, you'll be doing it again. We're still in the same spot. So people are going to have to look and do something. Either we got too many restrictions, they're trying to steer a spring water out of sewage. And it's just not happening. How pure are we gonna get? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll guarantee you, in 5 years, we'll be back up here protesting the same thing again. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for giving us the opportunity to say a few words. My name is Cynthia Kirby Fowler. I live at 75 Bryson Drive in Sutter Creek. I'm one of the people that was practically born. I was 6 months old. We moved to California and lived here for 59 years. Moved away 10 years ago. Moved to Washington State, moved to Colorado. Very pro-liberal states, I understand. People are shocked I came back to California. I hear it all the time. How could you come back? I frankly am shocked at what has transpired here at this increase potential, because that's one of the things I hear all the time, is that everything goes up, up, up in California. Nobody takes care of their business. Nobody does what they're supposed to do with the money. Not a reflection on any of you, because obviously this has been going on for years. But as so many other people, you know, we are younger retirees, but that's what we are. And, you know, we have a budget. This is going to be, you know, enough of a hit that I can see a change again in what we are doing as far as giving back to our community. We try to go to local events. We, you know, go out to eat different places. Those are the things that are going to go away. It's the first stuff that goes away for people, besides a lot of older people that have to put their medicine aside. And that breaks my heart. So I am protesting this. I am disheartened at the lack of letters you got. I'm shocked, but it's reflective of the times. So I appreciate all the effort. I know you guys have a really hard decision to make about it, and I don't know the full history, but I think that this is pretty darn radical. And both the states we lived in, it was water usage, sewer rate, you know, together based on that. And it's, you know, seemed like a logical way to go. Why would we pay the same amount of money when it's two of us? And we're very conservative, because I'm a drought girl from 1973 in California. So I appreciate the moment. We'll look forward to your vote.
I'd like to say something else. While passing out letters and passing out brochures and walking the beat on Sutter Creek on Main Street, I stopped in many of the businesses and gave them the flyers and asked them to protest, because what's going to happen is if it goes up higher, they're not going to be able to buy food. Look at the gas and the food, the groceries and so forth. They're going to go broke, and then you won't have the revenue. So how is she going to benefit from that if the restaurants go belly up? So a lot of the people were really concerned about it, the restaurant people. There's restaurants closing all over everywhere, and this is just what will happen here. And your revenue will not be coming in anymore. So I wanted to let you know that, because I did talk to a lot of business people. They're really upset about it, and maybe they did write a letter, I don't know. But I wanted to thank everybody that came today, because, you know, this is your privilege to be able to speak up and let people know. Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zita. I'm from Zam's Photography, a new business owner on 71 Main Street. And I can fully agree with most of you, except one person, that everything what's been said, but mostly what the gentleman next to me said, all those reasons that we heard, all the increased proposal and all that stuff, but we don't hear anything on what is the solution. And I think that we need to know that. And also, I just like to say, I'm sorry, this is my second language and also my second public hearing, so I'm a little bit nervous. But I just want to also say for those business owners, some of them, like myself, I only have one toilet, no big traffic, it's barely used. And that increase, that would, add a lot more cost to my already costs. I originally I live in Calaveras County, so when I opened up a business here, I was all hopeful, but then all the additional fees, which is all coming up with just to run a business itself is just some extraordinary. I didn't think I needed to do because the rules were a little bit different in Calaveras County than here. So I definitely see my expenses increase like 80%. And to keep the cost low, I can't keep up raising my prices. And I fully agree with the restaurants and all that, that if we cut that off, they will have to increase. And then we're just going to be cutting all the tourism off, which the city is living on, and everything else they said about the seniors and the fixed income. I totally fully agree. So I would like to hear a proposal of the solution apart from the increase. Like, what is the solution? Because I can't come up with anything apart from the tiered, the system that by the usage, how to meter it or put a meter system in. I don't know I don't think it's really my job, but I have some background history of, I've heard how the city was managed before and where the money went. So I just like to know where the money is gonna go once the increase happens and how you're going to solve the problem. So I am opposing this 218, whatever it's called. I brain dead now, but anyways, I'm opposing it. So thank you for letting us talk.
My name's Peter Torres, and I've been up here for 8 years, and we've had an increase since we moved up here from $56 to $72. You're giving us a proposal saying that you want to increase, but we don't have a solution or a show where that money's going to take care of the problem. And apparently it's an ongoing problem. But that's just, I'm not into it all the way. This is just what I've been getting since I've been here, so it's a little crazy.
Anyone else care to speak before we close the public hearing? I don't see anybody, so I could hear a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Derek, did we get any more protests or that?
No,
What's the next step of the process?
at
If you
this
can help me out
stage,
here.
at this stage, there is no majority protest. And so the council may approve the rate schedule as indicated, as noticed. And the resolution that is before you would adopt a 5-year rate increase, starting with an increase to $111 effective this year on July 1. So that's what's before you. If you want to make modifications to the rate schedule, to the resolution, we can entertain those as part of your deliberations.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the council. Did one of you want to elect to go first, Julia?
I just want to thank those that came. They spoke from their heart, And I hope you understand, we listened with ours. If we are in similar situations, I'm a retired educator. I have a fixed income. But, thank you. But I also would like to see us move in a direction where there could be some modification to the current proposed increase. I have some thoughts that I would like to share with those that shared with us. One is there's been, unfortunately, just the sole increase in 15 years, and it was not adequate. We are left to play cleanup. We are left with the responsibility of providing service to our constituents. We are left to try to fix something that has been broken for 15 years. And if you have an illness, please, thank you. I think we have a responsibility to also listen to our constituents, to our community, and to what they're going through. And I'm just going to say I am open to a modification of the increase that's before tonight. We can't erase what's been done in the past, but we as a council have the responsibility of presenting you with a better future somehow. And we hope that we can do that.
What I have in this binder is the wastewater master plan that was first started in 2017 and then updated several times. And I'm going to go to page 183 on that master plan. And it lists all the alternatives that were considered. Some were alternatives with the Gold Rush Ranch, other alternatives without the Gold Rush Ranch. Obviously, the Gold Rush Ranch alternatives are out. They ranged from 123 million to 61.7 million being the least expensive, which was the least expensive alternative being the tertiary plant with discharge to Sutter Creek. And everywhere in between, 98 million, 99 million, 97 million. And I agree, with Butch, it's so much money, it boggles the mind. And yet we decided the voters of California approved a bond measure to fund a high-speed train to Los Angeles from San Francisco. They authorized to be $32 billion. And so far, we're talking about 150 miles approximately from Merced to Bakersfield. And that's used $30 billion. And the overall cost is somewhere north of 120 billion estimate now to do the project that was originally 32 billion. So I don't like to see any rate increases at all, but I just don't know what the answers are. If someone can tell me, I would be glad, but just to continue to kick the can down the road and think that, well, we're always going to be able to flush the toilet and the sewer is going to go somewhere without investing in the infrastructure to keep it working. We've got to first, the plan is to address the I&I issues. Every time it rains, the sewer plant spikes horribly because our system is so old, it acts like a French drain and groundwater just pours into the system. And so the object is to address that first the best that we can, because the lower you can, or the better more that we can reduce the inflow, the less expensive it is to operate the plant and size the plant to accommodate what we're putting into it, what we need. So, and came on the council in 2010, and it's been a problem ever since I arrived. And at one point, Gold Rush Ranch was supposed to be our savior, and they were going to build a tertiary plant, and we all know what happened there. So hoping that there's another savior down the road is not advisable. We're going to have to do it ourselves. But I also listen and hear about the hardship that it could create for people on a fixed income. I understand that. I like the idea that if we could meter it somehow. Right now, even a commercial, if they're using less than a single family equivalent, then even though it's the minimum charge is the $76, even though they could be using less than the single family equivalent. Whether we can adopt and change the ordinance to look at that, that's something we'd have to talk to our engineers about. And I wouldn't be opposed to is that working? I wouldn't be opposed to doing that. So I would also consider possibly modifying the schedule for at the moment, but at some point, you got to ask yourselves, or tell me how we're going to pay for it. Because I don't know how we're going to do it otherwise. I'm not sure that even with this increase that it's enough. I mean, it's obviously more than anybody wants, but is it enough?
Susan?
I also want to thank you all for coming out. Unfortunately, we are all in the position that this rate increase was intended a long while back, and it is a very expensive project, and it is kind of mind-boggling to look at it. But we're trying to act in the best interest of the town, and in my experience now of looking at this is what we have to do, and it's unfortunate. I would ask that the council, if we do look at what Sandy mentioned, is to look into having a grant or some sort of subsidy for low income, because that really makes sense to me, because I know how hard things can be. But again, this rate increase was intended to be put in place a long while back, and we're in the tough position of being the folks that have to catch up. And my apologies for that. But it's something that, we take for granted that you've got a sewer system. We have a sewer system, and it's a tough place. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks everybody for coming and commenting, and everybody that sent something in, and all the discourse in the community. Even when it's this, we're happy to hear it, because this process doesn't work without people being engaged. But that doesn't change where we are. And few people, we do listen, and people have asked what the solution is. And the truth of the matter is, all options are still on the table. The stack that Jim has there has identified as the best option at this point, a new tertiary plant, but that hasn't been approved. We're not there yet. We're still looking. But at this point, the city's actually making progress, and the settling the lawsuit with ARSA and ION and CDCR is huge. The fact that we're working with ION and CDCR for the immediate, short, midterm is positive, but that doesn't solve the problem. There's a water balance that we don't have. They don't have the capacity to take everything we need to send them in a wet year, and we don't have enough to send them what they need in a dry year. The pipeline to Ione needs tens of millions of dollars of capital improvements, and it's not ours. So it's kind of like a landlord asking you to re-roof your house. We do know with all certainty that the plant that we have, while it functions mostly, is sorely out of date. There's only a few left in the state, and we're constantly repairing it, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years on, which is not an investment in the city of Sutter Creek. There's a limit to how long we can use that plant. And we do know that we need to improve our I&I to, before we build a plant or go in any other direction, and that takes money. And we can start that now. That's information we have today. And we do know that we need to build reserves, operating reserves, capital reserves, and an ARSA reserve to protect ourselves, and also to be able to qualify for any funding or grants. We need to show that we're doing our part. I would like to, in the future, this is not the last time we're going to talk about the sewer in Sutter Creek. And as we go through this process, I think we should look into some sort of tiered system, but I don't think we should delay this increase for that. We have several opportunities over the next years to look at it again. And and we have brought it up several times. I would like to direct the staff and encourage the council to look into some sort of utility relief for individuals that qualify. It does exist other places, and the rest of the small cities and counties in California are faced with the same thing we are: huge infrastructure costs and limited revenue. Unfortunately, the costs of sewer and police and administration and everything we do in a tiny town isn't scalable to our money. So that's our onus. And the last thing I'd like to say is I have full confidence that there's only 4 members of the council here, but I have no doubt that the entire council is considering the ratepayer. That's the utmost consideration, but we don't have a better answer. And I also share the confidence that the staff is doing the same. The ratepayer is really what's been leading this project the whole time. I think that's all I have to say.
I wanted to add 2 more things. I think it's my understanding the commercial rates are based on usage.
They are, but the minimum is still what a single family home would pay, even if it's less than, say it's 50% of what a single family typically uses. Our ordinance states that the minimum is still the equivalent of a single family unit.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing, because one thing in coming into small government, there are a lot of acronyms. So the I just wanted everyone to understand, our intention is to first address that, and what it is clean water getting into the pipeline that goes to the sewer. So in my opinion, I would imagine a lot of I don't know why, this isn't fun. This isn't money that we're like, this is so exciting. We just know we have to do it. And our intention is the first phase of this and thank you to our staff for looking into this and figuring this out, is we're looking to reduce the rates to the plant. So if next year we're in a position that there's way less, or the year after, if there's way less, I would imagine it would be the intention of the council and our action to not go forward with any rate that we don't end up needing the money. I just want to assure you all of that.
There's been a lot of consideration or talk about possibly giving relief to some individuals that might really need it. Could this rate increase be postponed for 1 or 2 months without having to go back and repeat this process? Can it be modified in that manner?
The problem is the rates are indicated to go up on July 1. So you could, but they're at, so let's say July 1 is at $111.55. Ordinarily, if you were going to try to recover the same amount, if you if you shrunk the time period over which, in other words, let's say you started on October 1st, you would go above $111 because that's 3 months of rates increases that you're not charging.
Well, why can't you do that?
Because that's not been noticed to the public. So for instance, if on October 1, we, instead of starting on July.
No,
1,
I'm saying why could you just,
you
could would postpone it, forego the, that revenue and still just do it $111 at a later date?
Sure, yes, you could start, if you wanted to start the $111 on October 1 instead of July 1, and then you direct staff to advise. I mean, two things I've heard. One thing is, if you take action tonight, you can direct staff to do things that address the concerns the public's raised. So Sandy's raised a sort of a relief program that the city could develop. So you could direct staff to bring back some program that would help, people on fixed income, or people who are like a hardship program for people who might not have the ability to pay. You also could direct staff to require a report back to the council on such and such a date. So every year, July 1 is we're supposed to raise rates. So you could require staff to report back by April 1, so that if you want to reconsider, you've talked about the ability to reconsider, you could give us a date and give us a trigger so that, we know that we have to do certain things. So those are two options. But you also could postpone the start from July 1 to
And direct staff
some other,
to bring back some sort of possible grant. What about the possibility of modifying our sewer ordinance so that you could, like I said, the ordinance now requires that even though any commercial parcel that's using less than a single-family unit pays the single-family unit, we modify our ordinance?
So is your concern commercial people paying more than a single
Well-
unit, or people on fixed income?
I think
Well,
both.
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 Yeah, I don't know how many commercial businesses we have that are
In
you
that
know,
category.
using that category. I mean, other.
Well, there's
commercial businesses-
quite a few shops downtown
Yeah.
have, they might just be retail and all they have is a bathroom and a sink. Some of them are commercial and they're in the food business, and of course, they're going to use probably more than a single family, maybe not necessarily, I don't know. If they're doing dishes. But I think it's something that we need to look at and consider, so that situation where someone is really subsidizing a home that it's using 4 times as much water as they are,
And I also
generating
think that's
4 times as much sewage as
Yeah. I
another
mean, it's
home.
not a it's not a precise system. Like you said, we don't have meters on wastewater, and even the water agency is
No, I don't
charging-
think
yeah.
anybody has meters on wastewater,
No,
but you have
right.
to do it during winter months, based on freshwater usage.
Right. I mean, ideally, if there were a change, it would align with the way the water agency is billing.
I think
Um,
maybe that's something we need to look at that might take a little longer, but I think we could at least postpone the increase for, let's see, like October 1st, and then bring back some sort of program to help in hardship situations. How that, what exactly that would look like, I don't know, because, but I'm sure you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's probably been done somewhere else.
I agree with Jim. I would like to see a delay to be able to establish how we can work out some of the kinks that were brought up this evening.
Again, I don't know how that would happen. All I can tell you guys is, putting off the rate increase is just digging a deeper hole. And we could go until October and come back to you and say, we don't have the funds for any kind of grant program. I know the AC, the board that Claire's on, the ACTAA, which came and presented to you, they have a utility relief program that's available now. We could go talk to them, but we will, and again, I'm not unempathetic. I want you to just understand what I'm saying. We would be spending time on that, and you're looking at your staff here. It means less time spent to start to address the problem with the wastewater plant. And I'm just not confident that we'll, come back with a program that's going to be meaningful. We could try. And we could also do that in parallel with this rate increase going into effect in July 1st. I think what Derek was starting to talk about was a delay, but we still make up the money so that we're not, digging that hole. If we delayed till October, you would have, what is that?
Well,
8 months or whatever. So the rate would be significantly higher to generate the same amount of money in the same time.
So then you're looking at not just the 20% in 2025, but possibly. that
No,
would-
so what we're
would that
saying is if we
increase-
had 12 months of the proposed rate increase that generates a certain amount of money that we are looking to budget and invest, if you delay until October, instead of, I'm trying to remember the 111, it would, starting in October, it would have to be, 120 or something
But
to catch up.
The problem is,
Well-
let me stop. The problem is at least just so I'm clear, we have not noticed that pursuant to Prop 218. So
no, I think the only way you could do it would be you just delay the start. You couldn't delay it and
Correct.
then
You-
delay it to a
could-
new number.
So you could delay the start of that 111 to whatever date you want, but it has to be 111
Yeah.
unless you want to renote it.
No, I'm not,
That's
I
already
wasn't
been approved.
proposing that at all. Of course, if you implement some sort of hardship program, that's going to come out of, that's reducing your revenue. Or if you modify the ordinance so that you would charge less than a single family unit, then that lowers your revenue too.
Well, we'd have to think about that. The hardship program may not come from
That's true.
enterprise money. It probably would come from a general fund source or some other source. So it'd essentially be, you'd be creating a program. In other words, if you're using money, I think what Tom may be saying is if you're going to use the enterprise fund money
You
for
couldn't do that.
sewer, you're just reducing what you have. You're
Right.
just reducing what you need to pay all the things that our staff has in that plan that you have, Jim. So you're probably, I think what Tom is saying is you're probably going to have to use general fund or other sources. And of course, you're going into your budget. Where is that money? You probably, I mean, we don't
Well,
know where that money is.
Okay. Well, then I propose to postpone it till August 1st so that they can take a good hard look at that possibility and how it might work.
I'm not sure I understand what possibility you're looking at. Are you looking at taking saying,
creating,
come up with $200,000 out of the budget and figure out how to allocate it across the lowest income sewer bills.
who said $200,000?
I just made up a number,
Okay.
but
I certainly didn't say $200,000. No, you said, you mentioned, some program.
Yeah, and Claire, what's the name of the organization?
What was it?
yeah, there is utility assistance through ATCA for very low income folks, and that exists and always has existed, and people can apply for it. I think most of it is subsidized by PG&E settlements, so that's energy bills, but people could apply for that, and it might help this, but that's not a city program. I think going forward, and we mentioned this at the last meeting, actually, Jim, it was when you had to step outside. We looked at that CBD, help me out here, CDBG grant, and those are things that we can apply for, to have some kind of assistance in our own community that we could administer. And I think we should do all of those things. I don't think any of those things will be done in a couple months. And I don't think that kicking the can and restarting this process, that we've gotten so far down, will solve any of that. And, I meant to say when I spoke before that when we approved the rate study to initiate the rate study that resulted in this, it was, I believe, the winter of 22. So Jim and Julia and I were here, not Dan and Susan. And I voted against it because I couldn't understand why we needed to do a rate study and why we could properly do a rate study when we didn't know exactly what we were going to do yet. But we do know that we need to build the reserves, and we do know that we need to hit the INI, and that ultimately is going to cost the city and the ratepayers, because the ratepayers are the city, they own the city, less. So I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot to possibly offer a little relief that we'd have to take from somewhere else in the city budget. But I do, that said, I would like to direct staff and, maybe even a group within the community to seek the outside grants and funds that can help with these things.
I agree. I think if we postpone it a couple months, we're just setting ourselves further back in this process, when really what we're trying to do is position ourselves so that we can get this grant money in order to show to the entities that can help us that we qualify and that we can move forward and be responsible. And absolutely, I think that in any motion, we should have a staff direction to for low-income grants or subsidies, whether it be from another entity or from us or both.
So, go ahead.
So I'm just going to close, and then if you want to move ahead, is, again, it's a bitter pill. I would like the staff the council to consider any further increases after this one for beginning the July 2025. Again, it hurts that we can't change history, but we're hoping that we can still show that we have the responsibility of taking care of our services. So with that, I close.
So I'll just try to help you guys formulate a motion. You could make a motion to approve the resolution as drafted, which would do the 5-year schedule, but you could direct your staff to report back on, I think the more general the direction you give, it sounds like might be better. It'll allow staff to come back to you. And again, what you could do before each year, you have July 1, sorry, oops. You have July 1 where these rates are supposed to go forward. You could require staff to come back to you before April 1st and give a report on, you know, just bring it to your attention that the rates will be going up. Does the council wish to revisit that? Does the council want to give direction? So that could be one thing you add to your motion. So you could say, you know, you want staff to report back initially within 100 days or 90 days or whatever, about things we can do to address the issues we've raised. You could also require, again, have staff put this on your agenda so you have to hear the item by April 1st of each year for these 5 years. That's another item that will tee that up for you and will force staff to have to tee it up.
I just would like to see whatever the motion is, that it includes that the rate increases after this initial one can be considered to be less. That's all. And to reevaluate, as you said, like on an April 1st, a report back from staff to see if that's, to make sure that that's, you know, a possibility.
So I think what I'm hearing, if that were the case, is you would approve the resolution that's going to set in motion the rate increases as indicated on each of these 5 years. But if you require staff to bring an item back to you before April 1st of each year, then you could give direction in hearing that report as to whether you want to make an adjustment. It would be kind of an opt-in. In other words, the way I think it would work is the rates would go up automatically, but you would receive a report and then you would have to, as a council, direct staff to bring in a resolution that would suspend or reduce going forward. So is that, if that is something that you want to consider, then I can maybe help you formulate a motion.
And
so,
And again, this is very hard to do. And, you know, I was a council member, so I kind of understand what you guys are going through. I would just urge you to think about future councils. You guys are trying to fix a very hard problem. It's hard to build things, as I think one of the public said. And just think hard about the more loopholes you put in here, a future council, you guys may not be here. They could, you know, stop the program and we'll basically have this problem continue. So I kind of understand the attractiveness of, and we will bring this back if that's what you guys want. But I also think, you know, we're trying to create a program here to solve these problems. Part of what we're looking at is having a rate schedule that we can go to a lender and say, you know, these were the approved rates for 5 years. So we can go out and raise money, debt money off of that. And so I think what Derek is saying is try to keep it broad, as, you know, as not prescriptive as possible. And we can come back with that report in April, but, you know, it's opt out, right?
Derek, well, first of all, as we've shown in the last 20 years, the rates don't automatically happen because they didn't. You know, there is a mechanism to not do them. But I think what I'm hearing you say, Derek, or I guess what I'd like confirmation on, is if we approve this resolution and the rate schedule in front of us, there is nothing to stop this council or the next council at any time between now and next July 1st from calling an agenda item to see where we're at. And after receiving a report, if, you know, something has changed, if we found our silver bullet or whatever else, not authorizing the next increase. We could do that without building it into this approval. Is that right? Because we could, 3 of us could ask for anything to be agendized. 2 of us could ask for anything to be agendized at any time, correct?
you always have that right, and your successor councils will always have that right. So if you just approve the resolution tonight, you know, you have an agenda session. We've added that allows you to bring any item forward. So that's one thing. You simply approve the resolution, and that's something you can always request. if that's not enough and you want to do something, what I would suggest is that you can direct staff to provide a report on or before the first meeting in April of each year in which rate increases are scheduled to go forward. So that way staff would have to put an item on the agenda and give a report to you about the rates and the activities associated with that the rates are funding. I mean, as a practical matter, you're always going to be getting that anyway because your staff
Right.
here is reporting to you. But if you want to schedule something, then we can just say, let's look at that first meeting in April and bring a report back that addresses these issues.
And
then-
we'll get those reports anyways, because there are so many variables. And, you know, here we're talking about rates and usage. And one of the things that's been discussed is some sort of program to help people improve the laterals on their own property. You know, that would factor into that. And, you know, there's too much to solve to delay this in my mind. But, yeah, we certainly should get a report. Yeah.
For accountability.
And that wouldn't, to write into this motion that we require a report shouldn't significantly hurt us with the lenders because it's not saying a report and then another vote, but we could call for a vote after receiving a report, right?
You could.
Yeah.
Yes, but again, I would emphasize that lenders, if there is some mechanism that suggests rates may be reduced after the fact, are unlikely to lend. So putting something that is more than just a report, which I think is
right.
fine, is
Yeah,
that
I
might be a
agree with
poison
that.
pill if you
Yeah.
go beyond just saying, we want a report. I think that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
city manager is
Yeah.
saying, and
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, that's
All
what a
right,
report is.
do that. You know, I'd like to say that I heard the comments about, well, past councils or past management didn't do what they should have done. And you could very possibly 10 years from now, look back and say, well, this council didn't do what they needed to do to solve the problem. And I mean, I don't like the rate increases, because I know it is hard on grocery costs are up, PG&E's up, insurance, if you can get it, is up. But that all being said, I don't know how we're gonna solve the problem of maintaining a sewer system for future residents and generations here, without paying for it. You know? If somebody's got a way to do it for free, I'd like to hear how you would do it. And I would encourage everyone, if you want to read this master plan that breaks down all the costs, all the different alternatives that were studied, it is available. It's on the city website. Go to city government and and then ARSA and then reports. And it's the wastewater master plan report. And it's very sobering to read. It's kind of boring if you want to put yourself to sleep, but you can go to the highlights, which are the numbers. And there's a lot of whole numbers in there. And if it says 30, 40, or 50, they're talking millions of dollars, not thousands or hundreds of thousands. Thank you.
Council, anything else, or I entertain a motion? Bless you.
I'll make a motion to approve and with the date requirement that Derek suggested. And also staff direction to look into grants and or subsidies for low income folks.
I second.
Okay, so just before you vote, I'll ask Karen. Karen, do you have that motion? Do you?
So, yeah, to clarify that, Susan, I think what you meant is to approve the schedule and direct staff to report back April 1st.
Well, staff, let's be clear, staff will report back on or before the first meeting in April
Yes.
of each year,
Correct.
in which the rates will go up. And then I think what Councilmember Feist has also asked is that staff also bring back at some point direct or present ideas for whether there is grant money or subsidies that we can
Utility assistance.
use.
Do we need to include that in the motion or can we give staff direction?
You can
As-
include it. It's
We
fine.
can-
Yeah. So Karen, do you have those two items down, those directional items?
I do. I have that, the council is approving the resolution as presented and directing staff to provide a report on or before the first meeting in April each year prior to the rate increase. And secondly, to direct staff to look into options for a rate relief program.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. We repeated it. I apologize. Discussion, further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that takes us to item 9, the administrative agenda. We'll start with the Eureka Road overlay project.
Do you have anything to present? Did you want to present? Yeah. So we have our city engineer here tonight, Matt Hospital. This project is being funded with some funds from ACTC. We can go through the project in detail if you have questions. This road is partially in the city, partially in the county. So the original project here is just for the city portion of Eureka Road. So Matt, I don't know if you have any comments to add.
Thank you, Tom. So the scope of the project basically involves, there's a few dig outs which we cut out an area that's bad and damaged, replace with asphalt before we do the final overlay with paving fabric. There's a couple storm drain pipes that will be removed and replaced. And basically it goes from Sutter Hill Road up to about where Ray Brusatori's driveway is. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's right where we just replaced the FEMA culvert. There's the new pavement there, so it'll end right there. The city received 5 bids.
Is that the part that's outside the city limits? No.
It's all in the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really close right there.
Okay,
but-
you're just saying that the road is both in Sutter Creek.
Correct.
And Amador County, but this project is limited to.
Well, there's a portion
city-
of the city that we're not going to do either. We're going to stop at the FEMA culvert, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay, but I mean, everything
the
that,
road goes,
everything that
yes.
we're going to do is within the city's.
Yes.
City limits, okay.
So we received 5 bids. The low bidder was Consolidated Engineering out of Valley Springs. We broke it into a base and an alternate, additive alternate to see what the funding came in. But the alternate is to do the paving grid fabric that basically strengthens it, makes it a better end product. So I'm recommending to award the base and the additive alternate to the low bidder, Consolidated Engineering tonight. And I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
I have a question, but I'm going to wait for Julia because she's getting me Kleenex.
Okay.
Oh, but she can hear me in the restroom. I know that from visiting it. Oh, thank you. On page 21, the breakdown of construction funds, contingency, construction management, et cetera. The low bid at 255,000, the construction management is 45,000. The PSR was 300,000 and the construction management was 45,000. So it was 15% on the cost estimates and 17.5% on the low bid. I'm wondering why that doesn't go down with everything else. And then I would refer back also to the next item, the Ora Madre project. Under the budget impact in the staff report, it says the construction management costs on this one are estimated to be 30,000, and that calculates to 9%, which is less than 15% or 17.5%. So I guess I'm looking for some clarity here on how that's so different in the two projects, and then also why that cost didn't go down when a lower bid came in.
Good question. It did go down because it's not really comparable. We're still gonna have to do the same amount of work no matter how much the project costs. We're still gonna have inspection hours and oversight, and so you can't really, just because, and this is just an estimate. I mean, it probably will come in less, but I had to put a number in there. The Ora Madre project was a little different because we'll be involved, but there'll be some time with Grant because there's some sewer involvement in that too. So we lowered that price to accommodate for Grant's oversight. He's gonna have to weigh in on some of the sewer improvements that are part of that project.
So if, sorry.
That makes sense, because actually I spoke with Tom and wondering if with the potential of existing problems with the sewer line, if the 60,000 or the $20,000 is going to be enough.
That's why we bumped that up. We're kind of jumping to the next agenda item, but
Yeah.
we're until we get those manholes in, we don't know the extent of that sewer line. So there's no way to access it. It's too long of a reach. So once those manholes are in, we'll be able to camera both ways, and there could be some more improvements. So that's why we put a little more contingency money in the Ora Madre project in case something does arise.
So are we going to be able to inspect any underground utilities to determine if there's needed repairs before we do the overlay?
With Ora Madre?
Or Madre, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
Yes,
gonna
yes,
like,
that's the.
oh geez, look, darn it.
No.
Found a hole,
We're
and
gonna
now we
put
gotta
the- we're
tear
gonna
this
put the
pavement.
manhole- Yeah, we're gonna put the manholes in, and then we're gonna camera each way,
Mhm.
see if we can figure out, if there's major problems or not, and then come back and, figure out
Okay.
how much footage we need to replace.
The storm drains we already know are bad shape. So those are slated to be
Right.
repaired in both projects.
There's already some replacement of pipe in the bid.
Yeah, there's
So that if we
150
need
feet.
more.
Yeah, right now.
Are we talking about Eureka and Ora Madre right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, we're
Yeah.
going back
Okay.
and forth.
Okay.
Do we need
I
to
suggest,
separate them, or
I
can it
suggest you
be
could probably talk about them both.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
pretty similar.
When you guys.
Okay,
vote,
then
you can
that
break 'em.
still leaves me questioning. I get what you're saying. Grant's gonna have to weigh in on Ora Madre and the increased contingency on Ora Madre. Sorry, my Dayquil's running off. Makes perfect sense. But where does what we're paying Grant come into this bid then? If you're coming in at 9%, sorry, not you personally, Matt, but you know what I mean? Then,
So
where's
typically on like any
where's what we'll
Caltrans,
pay Grant? Because I'm still driving at the question of why is the construction management on the proposed bid 17.5 on Eureka?
so typically on any Caltrans project, they authorize up to a 15% cap of the construction cost with the contingency. So I don't have my and again, like I said, we just put together, this is a budget. I don't have any, it depends on, there's a lot of factors that play into this cost that we won't know till the end. So if you guys are uncomfortable with that cost, I'm open to suggestions.
So my question is then, if the total amount granted is 405,000, and,
That was just an estimate we put together to ACTC to get the funding.
oh, okay.
That had nothing to, that was just,
That's just
Yeah,
pie in the sky. That's
exactly.
Well, that is actually how much ACTC will reimburse us up to that number.
okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm
So-
getting at then is that
As long as we're below
ACTC
405.
if ACTC is willing to go up to 405 and the total project cost on your calculations, Matt, is 352, that's a fair amount of leeway.
Yeah.
And I have asked
So-
Dan to reach out to the county public works director to see if we potentially could do portion of the road, even go further.
Yeah, that's.
I think
To
we're
use
still
up to
having,
405,000,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
I mean,
if you give it
initially-
back, you're not getting it back.
right.
Exactly.
Initially, he didn't sound interested. I think we're still trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, he does not seem to sound interested, but
Well, we
we're
still
we're
don't
talking.
Yeah.
want to just spend the max amount because we can.
Yes,
You know, we
exactly.
need to be good. It's.
Frugal.
No, but if.
Stewards of the
if
money.
We are granted $405,000 and we can make best use of that. That might save a future request of
Yeah, well, at least.
$105,000.
You mean you
it'll
want
cut
our
down the
change
vote
back?
population.
No, I'm saying.
I want the
don't
change
give
back to
in.
put in Ora Madre.
Just suggesting.
Talk about your-
What's it? Well, I was saying we can, it'll save on the MOB costs if, if he wants to go out and do another project down the road, then he's gonna have to pay for the MOB cost to get back up there. So if there is a portion that he wants to do, then that would make it cheaper for his project. So that's why we asked him if he'd like to do that.
Fair enough.
But John Gedney at ACTC is also willing, I think, to extend. We just need to connect with the county and see
Yeah.
if we want to
Probably have to have
spend
their
this
approval,
extra
yeah.
money or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that's what we're working towards, do we want to approve this right now or do we want to keep working towards that?
I think we want to get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can work out the details. We got to get the contract insurance, so that'll take a long time. And
Is there a priority in starting either Ora Madre first or Eureka first?
They're two
I
different
mean,
companies.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, the two, I mean, if we could do them
But-
together, I mean, as fast as we can for both of them,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I mean, I walk at least the lower part of Ora Madre every once in a while. That's just scary looking, the pipes that
Yeah,
stick out.
and the
That's
faster we
the
the
concern.
faster we fix Ora Madre, the less I will have in that sewer system. So that's another reason to get on that project as fast as we can.
Gotcha.
I know everybody's gone, but
Are you aware of a significant I&I issue there?
we have a sinkhole that we found, and so we don't know what is happening with that.
You found a what?
A sinkhole.
Oh, a sinkhole. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it said signal, sinkhole.
No,
Okay.
yeah. So we've repaired it as best as we can, but we think there might be a reason for it. We just can't get in there to look yet, so.
I've expressed this concern before, and I wanted to voice it again, that I'm really concerned about Ora Madre and not having speed control on it or something. I don't know what the best thing to do would be. But it's so bad now, and we're gonna make it brand new, right?
Mhm.
Or we are going to make it. And people park along there to use those fields for soccer practice. And I have a lot of kids. There's a lot of people that have more than one kid and toddlers and being the high school there. And I think that when I voiced this concern before, we're like, oh, well, we'll address it after, but you can't really put speed bumps after you've paved the street. I don't know if no one else is worried about that. I was just driving around in like the dreaded Bay Area the other day, and there's a lot of speed bumps. And I just think, I live on California Drive, and there's a kid on my street that goes like 45 up and down it. And I've asked him to slow down. He told me call the police, take a video. And I think maybe Oro Madre is even steeper.
I'm not familiar with California. but-
It's the one that comes off the football field.
Oh, okay.
And even, I mean, there's a lot of texting and driving going on these days. There's some of my neighbors drive down, adults that are good citizens drive down it pretty fast looking at their phones, but it's just, I think they're about the same steepness. Is that a word?
Could be. Same slope.
So I'm just really worried that someone could get killed when we repave it. Just want to say.
Well, we can add speed controls after
Yeah.
it's paved. You don't have to do it.
can.
at the same
Yeah,
time.
you don't have to do it at the same time.
So what would trigger that? Is it like if someone get,
A problem? I mean, well, I'm just, yeah, you're talking worst case scenario, okay?
Could we post
I'm
the-
not gonna I can't support pre-approving speed bumps at this time, so I'll just leave it at that.
okay, I get it. So
Maybe the other other council members will, but I'm not.
could we do though something like post the speed limit? It's just that one spot right by the baseball field where all these parents park and it's funky and there's just so many kids.
So do you need separate motions for the
Yeah, I mean,
approved
tonight
bids?
is this, we did a public process. We got the bids. Tonight's approving the bid. We can take Councilmember Fife's comments. It's not really agendized tonight, but.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
just want to bring it. I'm not like, I need
I'm
speed bump.
certainly not opposed to putting up more speed limit signs so that it's clearly posted. Then you have to use enforcement. And that's how I would address the problem. That would be my initial attempt to address the problem, would be clearly post it and then do some enforcement campaigns in that area to make people aware. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it might be enough just to have one sign as a reminder, but it's just people drive so fast. So, yeah, I'm just worried.
Walk down Gopher
As a
Flat
matter.
Road in front of my house sometime.
I almost got run off on.
Okay.
So I move that we accept the low bids for the Eureka Road overlay project. Do you need then a separate motion for the? Okay.
Yeah.
So I move that we
Separate.
approve the low bid for the Eureka Road overlay project as described by Matt Ospedal.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's knock this next one out.
We take that, Reese.
Yeah, or did you?
Did you vote on Ora Madre?
Yeah, do you want to
Oh, I'm
make a
sorry.
motion?
Then
to-
I also move that we accept the low bid for the Ora Madre Way, also concrete overlay project, again, as described by Matt Ospedal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we take a recess? We're in recess.
Okay.
You know, yeah. It's like you think like you should always do that, you know, when you leave. a place.
I think what it's more like with that, with people coming down Jim Gopher Flat, just like even coming down tonight, somebody came barreling up the hill. I just put my hand up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now get sign language back. Yeah, or they just like.
Is it a
Hey.
girl or a boy? How old's the next grandchild from her? Okay.
Just the last thing is that, submitted notice of exemption for Lakers. Really?
Which one?
Okay. Cleaning the creek, yeah. Oh, that's right, never mind. Never mind, doesn't matter then. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. We'll go, don't change it. Maybe we could move him up. Ahead of
D up.
Go A, B, D. Let Steve go now. Cause I can't read.
Yeah, he's been here all night. Both his daughters.
You own land back in there?
Hmm?
You own land back in there? In Amberson? So pretty. I'm gonna, could I switch to dinner and let Steve go?
Yeah.
Are we all recessed back? My. Okay, I think we're gonna go back into session once Derek sits down. And we're gonna flip things around a little bit. Steve, thank you very much for your patience. If you'd like to get out of here, we could take 9E next, no, sorry, 9D next, the Amador City fuel break. And Jim's gonna excuse himself.
So you guys have heard the presentation. I think you could probably just go to public comment and then have a discussion on the letter.
Sure. I think that we had a chance to ask some questions, so we'll let the public comment and then have our deliberation. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing nobody, I'll take it back to council.
I just, I want to thank Steve for coming and explaining, like, so we got some both sides. Can you, I don't know if it's time, can he answer questions if can I address? So Steve.
At the microphone, because it'll be recorded.
Yeah. So listening to Dominic's description of like the fire movement and the fire break and the opinion that where the property owners want to put the fire break isn't purposeful and won't accomplish in the big picture of what we all want done. How do you address that?
How do I respond?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, there's some terminology that has to be cleared up. A fire break is not the same as a fuel break. A fire break is basically clearing all vegetation off.
And they're doing a fuel break.
And a fuel break is a thinning, basically, of the existing vegetation to diminish the amount of fuel.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So given that the fuel break is placed or where they want it.
Okay, there's a
and
couple of
addressing
reasons
the-
for that, okay? One is that it's a large piece of property. Okay, if we do nothing more than work on the Renditch property, we only have to deal with one landowner. And I can tell you that it is complicated and sometimes frustrating to get what we call rights of entry from multiple landowners to accomplish a large-scale fuel break. Now, having said that, as I said earlier, I've already gone to the trouble of figuring out who the landowners are in the vicinity where a logical extension of this fuel break would go from Renditch property onto Kathy Galetz's property. Okay. And she would obviously have to sign on this. I don't disagree with Dominic's proposal to get a deeded easement, which would push landowners more in the direction of redeeming their responsibilities for maintenance. Okay? This has been a problem that we've had and we've seen in every fuel break that we've ever put in. Okay? I disagree with Dominic in that it's useless. Excuse me. I don't see it as being useless. No, I mean,
I think he.
if there's a nuclear war, we're not going to, the fuel break isn't going to help. And that nuclear fire is not going to help. The fuel break won't help. I mean, it'll be, no, I don't want to say that. Anyway, I think that, and the other part of it is too, is I am more than willing to include in my proposal to the Fire Safe Council that they consider an additional grant or on this grant looking at home hardening assistance for landowners. Okay. The fact of the matter is, there's a couple of problems. I don't know. I could go on forever on
Well,
this.
no, I
Jeff,
just
I
wanted,
really
I
don't
just
want to.
wanted your opinion
Yeah.
just on that one about just the placement
The
of.
placement of it is within a mile and a half.
No, but he described it as like at the top of the ridge.
Yes.
And
It's at the
even
top of the
fuel
ridge.
break at the top of a ridge. And I did just some reading a little bit ahead of time.
Sure.
I can understand his point. I'm kind of leaning towards his point of view of like
Sure.
where it is and
Yeah.
is it
Well,
really going to accomplish what we want?
yeah.
And the cost.
I mean, he's a chief, and I know he's got a lot of experience. I have fought fire also in my career in 40 plus years, and we have backfired. We backfire from ridges. We do not put fuel breaks or backfire locations at the bottom or in the middle of a slope. Why? Because when a fire starts at the bottom or in the middle of a slope, it rips uphill. If we start at the top and we start backfiring in the afternoon when the down canyon winds are pushing the winds down the slope, then we can backfire from the top of a ridge and it's much more safe. But I will not dispute the need to go along Amador Creek Road and Turner Road and do fuel modification along those roads. I would urge all landowners to do that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Steve.
Sure, thank you.
Steve, super fast question. You just mentioned Kathy Gallette's property. Is it adjacent to it?
It is. It's a 40 that's just north of the Renditch property.
Kathy Gallette's is my aunt. Is that a problem? No. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right.
Susan?
Yeah, I wanted to add something that I've heard a couple different people speak about the Paradise Fire lately. And one of them is one of my employees who worked for CDF at the time and fought the fire. And she was describing being on the ridges during the fire, and her, I guess is chief, the right terminology, would say, all right, we have 5 minutes right here. And I've also heard people, a man with a very deep description of his sister, or no, him evacuating Paradise and being trapped on that road and while people were dying in their cars. And the way she described it, if I had 5 minutes on a ridge to fight a fire, I sure as heck would be happy that there'd been fuel reduction done on it. I also know Lisa, I know her as Hillman that bought that property. I've known her, her parents were family friends of mine, strangely enough, family friends of my parents. And I know her brother, he's passed away, and her other brother. And I know she's a very intelligent and responsible woman. And with regard to the maintenance, I know that that would be something of the utmost importance to her. And they're putting in a burro and Mustang rescue, so they have every reason to want to keep it a safe place. And it seems to me it is an intelligent place to put a fire break, because if there's a fire coming through and we could keep it that far out of town, it could save lives. And this is like a total anecdote, but I'm just going to say it. I burnt a large brush pile, which is totally out of my wheelhouse, but I did it. And scared me how fast it burned and how quick it took. And if we can reduce fuel like this with a grant, I think that I am in strong support of that.
I have yet to see any reason what this has to do with the city council of Sutter Creek. There are properties, applying for funding like this all over. Kathy Goulette's, my husband's aunt, she got some money to clean up her property, and the city wasn't approached. I certainly feel breaks help. I would think that as a city council, we would be more concerned with Turner Road and Amador Road, and certainly our homes. And I do believe that with programs like this, it is a pie, and there are only so many pieces, and the size of your piece is, determined by what you support. So I don't see why specifically we would need to write a letter of support for this. If these folks get this grant and do this work, then that's fantastic, but I'm not sure what it has to do with our city council. Or, why it would be prioritized above a whole lot of other fire mitigation for our city. So and if our chief doesn't support it, then I would not be inclined to vote for this.
My question though, is anyone else applying for grants?
It doesn't prevent them from applying for a grant, does it? No.
Yeah,
So our,
recommendation.
they don't need us to apply for the grant to still accomplish what they want.
Does it strengthen their position for the grant? So to me, I don't know why we wouldn't want to strengthen the grant. Any fuel we take out of this county could help all of us. And the further out, we all have been here. I've been here 22 years or something, but there've been a lot of fires in the last 10, and you just never know where it's coming from. Have you driven through Tahoe at those ridges that burnt? Like, why would we not endorse anything that would protect this county? The fact is, these people are going out of their way to do it. And if we can strengthen their position, wildfire is such a danger now.
And again, if I could just offer, I think this is really a philosophical decision for you guys. It's kind of like a reference letter. Do you want to give a reference to everybody that asks? That could be a policy, or you could not. So,
I think still at this point, not knowing what our reference means and who we're applying to and what the size of the pie is and who's looking at it. If we had a letter, we could stamp 2 or 3 projects theoretically, and out of 10, I wouldn't see this being a high priority. And because we don't have that information, I wouldn't endorse
But
that.
I see what you're saying, Susan, and, but at the same time, I walk that road a couple times a week, that Turner Road, and going back to the perimeter of where this is at. And to me, the concern is like the roadway. It's just like, how much do we want to be? They want to go ahead and do it, they can still do it. That's not a problem. I think as a city, I agree, we focus on those that are it's gonna most immediately affect us.
But
So
sorry.
So no, I'm not agreeing that it's a bad thing. It's just, I don't know what our endorsement will mean in the long run. We know that it's gonna be fairly high cost. Could we be coming back and ask to support that? I don't have enough information on that. So it's just, like you said, Tom, it's kind of philosophical. At this point,
right.
don't.
You could just say every project is good, we'll support everything, or you can be more.
Yeah, but I don't feel, and I think Julie is saying the same thing. I don't know, I don't have the information to know what weight we carry. So if Dominic was to prepare something, or some other branch of the Fire Safe Council to harden our homes, and we already endorsed a $1 million project, I wouldn't want that to
Come back.
diminish our chances. Yeah.
Doesn't, to me though, it feels like no one else is coming to us with any ideas on how to strengthen our position in a wildfire, and this is on the table. And if we say we pause on it, it doesn't happen, and there's a fire in September, and that was the only thing that, not to be dire, it's horrible, but I don't know why we wouldn't move ahead with all ideas and, of protecting this area from fire.
Because there's only so much money.
But
And,
no one else is
there is
asking for
efforts.
it.
I know Dominic's been trying to get, trying to work with Supervisor Oneto to do roadway cleanup outside of our city limits, specifically on Ridge Road, or to pay for some of that because it's, you know, traveled by non-city residents. You know, there are efforts being made, and I don't feel that I know enough to support this one. But that being said, unless there's more discussion, we can entertain a motion.
Yeah, I have a couple more things. So I should revise my connection to this woman to that I hadn't seen her in like 30 years before I ran into her in town. But if the grant money is finite and there's other community, well, Steve, can I ask you, is it finite? Is it something that refreshes?
I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, right now, the California state budget is, everybody knows what the problem is. It's too much debt and all that. Right now, CAL FIRE grants are frozen. Whether that changes next year or not, you know, governor has made all sorts of noises after the big fires about how everything has to be done, fuel modification and home hardening and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, after spending like a drunken sailor, we have $78 billion worth of debt, or 61 billion, depending upon who you believe. But the fact of the matter is that I've got projects right now that I've gotten approved, and I'm being told, hold on. Okay? So we don't know. And yes, the money is finite. I mean, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection has two major sources of funding, one being fire hazard reduction funding, the other being forest health funding. And they were being funded at large amounts. And they had projects handed, you know, approved and moved forward. And as I said, we're doing 1,000 acres over there in Jackson. But going forward, we don't know. You know, my intention on this is to try and get something moving forward in this lower country, you know, 49 East, and, you know, try and help protect the towns of Amador City and Sutter Creek, as well as the Renditch property, because they're very much interested in that. But this proposal, and coming to you, my purpose here is to make the Fire Safe Council feel, on their board, feel that this project maybe has more community support than maybe the project that was just thrown together willy-nilly. You know, I've put a fair amount of time into this. And the Renditches have already started doing clearing on top of the ridges just so they can get their quad runner through, you know, and which will make it a lot easier for the forester who lays this out and prepares it, which won't be me. And so I'm going to take this to the Fire Safe Council, and they're going to weigh it on its merits, its location, its design, the commitment of the landowner for maintenance, and community support. And community support's a big deal. It is a big deal with the Fire Safe Council. When the smaller fuel breaks that they've gotten worked on, they want to see the neighbors step up and say, yeah, we're here, we're going to do it, we're going to maintain it, you know? So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this whole proposal. It's Dominic kind of suggested it's like, politics and who has, but, I know how this works, I want to convince people. I want to use, my experience and my knowledge and the fact that I know a few people around this county, that maybe they can trust me, So I'll leave it at that. Okay.
One more thing. So if we don't endorse this and help them get the grant money,
Right.
there's no guarantee it's not going to go
Oh.
to a different community.
Oh, no, 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 no. It's not like we're going to pack our bags and go home. No.
No, I
We're
mean,
going to continue to push for this, and your support or your lack of support or your not supporting it. I mean, it's not like
Not gonna
this is
change
going to
it.
go
Not gonna
into the
change it.
record that Sutter Creek doesn't want this.
no, that's not my question.
I think that's an important message. What you just said, that caveat, it's not, if we don't, it doesn't mean that we don't.
No.
Yeah, no, I get
No,
that.
it's gonna
So
move
my
forward.
question though is that if they don't get that grant money and we didn't, and I'm just saying if we could help them, it doesn't seem like there's any risk to us. Cause it doesn't seem to me that if, let's just say we don't give them the endorsement, they don't get the money, who's to say that money won't go, it could go anywhere. It's not
Sure
gonna
could.
get saved 9 months for Sutter Creek applying elsewhere, right?
No, and the source of the funds, for example, if the city of Sutter Creek or the fire department here wanted to put together a grant for home hardening, the source of the funds might be different.
Yeah.
I really have no clue as to what the parameters for grants of that type are and the funding source for that. I would encourage the city to go after it.
Yeah, me too.
I will tell you that the Fire Safe Council has got a tremendous record for securing grants, and it's largely because of two people that work for the Fire Safe Council that are hustling on grant writing. And, I mean, what's that old saying? If you build it, they will come. Well, if you apply, you will get it. You work hard enough at it.
So I guess that's what I don't understand. What's your guys' concern if,
I think, I mean, at this point, you can make a motion. Yeah. If you,
okay, I'll make that motion. But I guess, no, I want to talk about it because I'm confused why, and I'd like to be able to chat with you guys about it. Because why not? Why not put a huge parcel right outside of our town in a better position to have a fire break? What if there's a fire and they don't get the grant and we didn't help them get the grant and that fire burns through right there and we could have put a huge line for the
And I
CDF to
actually
use.
asked that same question to Dominic, and not these, I haven't time to read these, but that fuel break would not necessarily, and Steve, maybe this is a point of debate, but according to Chief Marino, that fuel break would not necessarily prevent a fire coming over the ridge and preventing it from coming down into the town.
But-
So my concern is if we endorse someone to search or go after funding that we don't know what's attached or what it is, we know that it's over $1 million potentially of their cost, and money comes up for us later to apply for, and we go, wait a minute, we already, put our kind of support behind here. Is that going to affect our support? I don't have the confidence that this is going to either serve the need as described by Chief Marino or have enough information of how it could impact our endorsements later. That's my point.
I guess I would, say the same thing. I don't have enough information for this to convince me this is the most best use of our endorsement for whatever our endorsement means for, a large amount of money that comes out of a finite pool.
you guys, we got some more items. So I think you
Okay,
gotta
so if
resolve
y-
this.
Is there a motion? No, okay. Can somebody let Jim in?
Well, wait a minute, did Susan make a motion? No. Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
I don't like to lose.
So we need to go back to 9C.
Hey, real property donation.
So this one can be pretty quick. So again, we are pretty, sorry, no, wait for Jim to get over there. So we're pretty, lucky, I guess, to have a property owner, who is donating property to the city. It was valued at, $1.4 million. It's 18 acres. Goes from Sutter Ione Road down to the wastewater treatment plant. We did a phase 1 environmental study to make sure, it wasn't toxic, and came back without any indications that it is. And so this is a motion for the council. If you accept this, we'll go into escrow and we'll be able to close on this property. There's no project associated with this. We do know that our wastewater treatment plant has limited space, but what we do with this land would be a future discussion.
So I could
Aquatic facility.
probably answer this question if I'd have looked at it more thoroughly. But are there any restrictions or covenants with this that would tie our hands about what we can do with the property?
No, the property owner has not made any restrictions on us. So
Okay.
we can use it for any purpose, any public purpose.
Can we sell the property?
Yes.
We'd have to go through a process to do that.
We'd
but we
have to
could do
go
that.
through now, we probably, there's a,
No, I mean, but there's no restriction that the property owner did put on it that would prohibit us from going
Correct.
through that process.
correct, yes.
Okay.
We've never had to deal with this. There is a surplus lands
Right, just like any
process.
property, if you have a car, you have to go
Yeah.
through some sort of process to
Well,
sell it.
because it's owned by the city, I think we have to offer it to other agencies first.
And then
Okay.
there's
Huh.
affordability elements that go along
All
with
right,
it.
so, yeah, we'd have to jump through a lot more hoops than just a private individual selling it, but,
Correct.
okay. I'm not even, and I'm certainly not suggesting that I want to sell it at this point. But
It's good to know
it's
your
good to
options.
know that where our hands are not tied.
Correct.
I had just actually two things. One, just a kind of a Mr. Ashworth's assessment of the property, and then there's a statement that he put in there. Hazardous material, including mold, which may or not be on the subject property, was not observed by the appraiser. However, the appraiser is not qualified to detect such substances. So I just thought, I thought I'd bring a little levity to this evening.
We did a phase 1 search.
There's an environmental.
Yeah, so the phase 1, yes, Tom.
But it
Tom-
was, yeah.
Correct.
And then my other question is, at the very beginning, it described under agreement, I believe it talks about limitation, economic reviews, engineering and description. And then on page 6 of the agreement, on item 17, it refers to a phase 1 and 2 environmental assessments as being included in some of the studies.
Which page?
At the
number?
beginning, that says there was an environmental 1 assessment, but I was curious of
Which
what,
page are you looking at?
on page 6, number 17. Yeah,
Oh.
the third line from the bottom. It's actually part of a very
So
long
this
sentence.
is, this is a covenant that requires the owner to give us any phase 1 and 2.
So what's the
documents.
difference in phase 1 and?
If he has the documents, he has to give them to us.
If
but-
he has,
Oh,
to, yeah, and then the phase 2 is a focused, if your phase 1 uncovers areas of concern, you do a focused phase 2 analysis, but we have done our own phase 1 and the phase 1 came back clean, so we don't have to do a phase 2.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Is it all zoned, that residential? Someone had asked me, or someone had said something about it, there being
Let's
commercial
say,
part.
I forget what it was. It has a planned community overlay, I think.
What's that?
There's something like 30 homes.
Yeah, it
Could
could
be.
be up to 45, I think,
That's
but,
it.
um,
That's just the density.
That- yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a public,
Just that.
public facility with the city owns it.
If there's nobody in the public, is there any other council discussion, or I'd entertain a motion?
I move
I
that
move-
we adopt the resolution authorizing our city manager to execute the real property donation agreement of the 18.3 acre real estate property to the city of Sutter Creek.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to E. E. Notice of exemption.
Yeah, so this is a notice for our, stream, creek cleaning that we're gonna be, we applied for a permit for. It's a 5-year permit that we applied with Fish and Game. As part of the permit, we need to, file a notice of exemption or go into the CEQA documents. So we're suggesting that we, adopt the exemption, for maintenance.
But
Does that
the
include
green light on?
Sutter?
It
I,
is.
I can hear you.
I know, it seems like it's cutting off.
Yes, like I can hear you, but not, doesn't
I know.
sound like amplified. Okay,
Sorry
there you
about
go.
that.
So is there
I'll eat
a
the-
range of the creek that this covers, or is
Yes,
it the
if you look
entire
on the
creek?
third page or the, what is it, 94?
Is that the very last page?
Yeah, the yellow areas are the areas of the stream.
Oh,
that
we
will
don't
be-
have colors.
Oh. Karen, can you go to the
Is
map?
that-
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have the color in
Yeah.
that, but that helps.
Yeah. So those are the areas that we identified in the permit as where we're going to be doing our creek cleaning.
Okay. Does that include just, I mean, I could take a minute, probably look at it. Does that include up between Badger and Spanish? The creek that, up to the, say, the bridge? The Badger Street Bridge?
Yeah, it does. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, it's all of Sutter Creek going through town from the wastewater plant, actually further than the wastewater plant, down into Arsa and all the way back up,
oh, okay.
to the Grizzly, or not to the Grizzly, to the, Flushing Dam.
Oh, okay.
So,
I see it now. Thank you, sorry. I knew it.
so are you really gonna, is it necessary to go down to west of the highway? The bypass?
Yes, because we were trying to, do the freshwater diversion for Arsa.
Mhm.
So that can be part of our permit.
Oh,
We can
okay.
go back in there and do that work.
Okay, so but you're not actually proposing.
No,
So
that
is this
we
gonna
don't-
be like, just spot work?
Yeah, so
along
how,
the
so
creek?
how
I
this
mean,
works is we get we put in a general permit, with
Uh-huh.
all the areas that we think we might, do.
Okay,
And then we notify them, a couple weeks before, say, hey, we're gonna go out to this site. They can come out, they can inspect, anything they want to do, and and then they
oh,
give us
okay, so you need to know, before you can, you've got permission, but that permission says, you need to notify them when you're gonna do some work,
Yep.
and they're gonna send somebody from Fish and Game to.
Maybe, yeah.
Or water
Yeah, if they want
resources or
to.
whatever,
Yeah.
and look at it. Okay,
Yeah, so this is just the overall area that we could clean in the next 5 years.
yeah, because I want to see the concentration really, but in the, probably the lower.
Yeah, and this allows us to
Part.
just do all work above the streamline, so we're
Okay.
not in the water,
Uh,
up to the high line. It's general cleaning, it's small saplings that we would take out, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to take some stuff out by the roots. instead of-
Yes, exactly.
That's what we really need.
Yeah,
to
that's
know.
what this is gonna do. This is
Okay.
gonna allow us to do.
So do you just need direction of staff to,
Just to approve the
Move forward.
exemption, yeah. And then we post it with the
Sounds good.
county.
thank you.
You need a motion?
Do we need a notion or just direction?
We need a motion.
Well, I make a,
Okay. Okay,
make a motion, to approve the notice of exemption, or what is it? Submission of the notice of exemption, rather.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, we're skipping F, mayor and council member reports. We'll start on that side. Susan?
Nothing to report.
Jim?
No.
Julia?
No.
Me? Kinda. We're gonna have a meeting next week with some folks. I just got the notice. I'm not exactly sure who it is. To talk about the possibility of, having a concert in the park type thing to replace how Atka had. So, same thing they did. Look at what that would entail since they're not here anymore. And I'll report back whatever comes out of that.
I think they canceled dancing in the streets too, so it's probably would be real popular.
I don't think we're ready for dancing in the streets.
They,
Well, we don't have to call it that,
They-
but it's just,
so they, just decided not to do it anymore, or was there more
I-
than that to it?
we're,
I know, I mean, that's.
I'm just
am-
saying there's
amateur s-
gonna be that's gone, so that
There might be
your
a
idea
vac-
is a
a
good
vacuum
one.
for
Yeah,
entertainment.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah. There was something about the permitting or people not wanting it, or I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, that's everybody. City Attorney's report. I dare ya. Okay, future agenda items. Nope. Okay, information and correspondence. There's none. We will resign into closed session.